Hey there, monkeys. Grab that cup of coffee, kick back, and relax. We'll get started with a SITREP in just a minute. All right. Hey, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. It's going to be your SITREP. It's 11 a.m. Central Time, coming to you from the great state of Texas, live in the Monkey Lounge. And so without further ado, let's hop over here to our mini board. And that said, if you would, well, I'd say hit that like and subscribe and bell for notification. We would greatly appreciate it. Hey, listen, if you are traveling, I wanted to put this out there for you. All you got to do is there is a little QR code right over here in the middle, got the little monkey in it. If you just hold your camera up to that, this will take you straight to our partner program site. If you don't have this and you are traveling around the world, especially given the current environment, these guys, it is worth every single dime. It's not crazy expensive. You will absolutely love just having the comfort knowing that if you're somewhere around the world and things go south or awry, you can just hit the little button on your bivy stick, or you can actually make a phone call and they will send in the rescue ninjas to get you. Now, you can use it for hiking, all kinds of different things. But when I went to Israel, this right here was one of the first things that I did for my wife and I, because you just don't know what the situation is going to be, especially right now. If you're heading to Europe, Africa, anywhere you're traveling, they've got a cool little button down here at the bottom of the screen. It's a live chat. You can actually go talk to them and ask them anything you want. But this is kind of the key services when you get this. You get worldwide field rescue. So if you're at the top of a mountain and you can't get down, there's a fire or whatever it may be, they will pick you up. They've got medevac and advisory services, 24/7 traveler assistance. So, and then last thing is you can actually get destination reports sent to your phone. So while you're in or out of country, it will tell you when things are starting to go south in that general area that you need to maybe check in. And I'm telling you, well worth it. This is not what you would normally you reach out and think about doing when you're traveling like that. But with the environment that we're in, you definitely want to have this one in your quiver. So again, just scan that little QR code. It's going to take you over to Global Rescue, and it's easy. Just follow the instructions. It's pretty straightforward. So, okay, let's do this. Let's hop over here to Skyglass. We're tracking the air refuelers right now, and we're sitting at 8 Pegasus 767-200s and 21 KC-135s. Notice you got this one out off the southern coast of California. Pay attention to that. We're going to talk more about that general area as we had some reports over the weekend that were kind of interesting. And then also this here, notice this one's headed down to the border. We also have confirmed reports of Wagner folks down here in Mexico. All right. That's the Wagner group, the same one that is in Russia, Belarus. Yeah, they're kind of setting up shop. Africa. They're all over the place. All right, but that's where we stand. Notice this out off the East Coast. You've got it off Virginia Beach running some routes. That means you got a lot of fighters probably up in that general region. And then let me do this. I'm going to jump over to Europe. We'll take a quick gander. Looks like, as always, right here is the hot spot. That's U.S. military. And that is kind of up there, tucked into that little corner near the city of Marino. off the Adriatic Sea, sorry, no N in there. And then this one here is coming off the toe, headed westbound off of Malta. Again, air refuelers, good indicator of fighter activity. Notice where you don't see it, right? It's there. We just don't see it, all right? They've gone dark. That tells you that this is taking on a new level, all right? Okay, now let's do this. Let's jump over here to our watch list and start to get into some of that. This, again, remember I said Southern California, watch that, out over the water. Something is going on out there. We've got a Hubble intel balloon that is currently up. Same area, that one up over the northwest. Another 2 of them sitting over center United States. Again, this is NSA stuff, folks. They are watching everything we do and everybody else does. Survey planes, most of these we see up right now are going to be surveys, just like these. And a little Navy P-8 heading northbound. That one, that's that African yellow wings thing. Below, it's at negative 900 feet. And then that is your FBI. That's going to be your Gestapo, look to be headed northbound out of D.C. And then a NOAA bird up north. We're going to talk more about the NOAA weather stuff here in a minute as well. On over to Europe. And just notice we've got R-135s that are currently active, looking very closely at Kaliningrad, a little bit further north up here near near St. Petersburg, off of Belarus, down towards Constanta. Again, German intel balloons that are up, a little survey plane and a little drone off of Portugal. That's a Navy bird, actually, that's headed eastbound towards, and that's actually Navy P-8. Notice all the zeros or the @ signs. Yeah, incognito, flying, trying to stay off, coming out of probably Constanta area. And then these are all drones right here. But yeah, it's a Navy logistics bird headed towards Italy, it looks like, maybe Malta. And then that, U.S. State Department headed to Baghdad out of Amman, Jordan. That's where they are located. Again, U.S. State Department. And then that's going to be one of your Ruskies, looks to be headed back and forth. I don't get that track. Very jagged and bumpy. Nothing there. We get out over to Japan. That's going to be a Navy P-8 Poseidon Subhunter headed down towards kind of China, towards Okinawa. And then that is a survey plane at night. So don't see that very often. I will say that much. Okay, let's get over here to Intel aircraft. Again, notice off the southern side of California. Again, there's something going on down there, folks. If you're in Southern Cal, just have eyes on situational awareness, whatever it may be. It looks to be out over the water. Notice a broken trace there. Again, these are Intel aircraft. These are guys that are out gathering data. And then we get over to Europe. We've got the same set of folks, probably Brio 68, Brio 66. Again, looking closely at Belarus, looking very closely at the border there, and then down to Constanta. And then also notice that little intel bird that's off between Greece and Turkey. And then that's over Amman and actually over Jordan, as they look closely at something happening over there in the Saudi side of the house. And then this transition coming out of north of Sydney over towards Darwin, south of Darwin, and then that one up in the Philippines. Okay. All right, let's talk survey flights. It has gotten slow. I'm going to hit pause on this because I do need to talk to it for a second while this thing is moving around. Like I said in the past, when they stop doing these flights, it's time for us to start paying very close attention. Given the fact that we have a lot of data indicating we're in for a very bumpy ride in the next 12 months, and the fact that these are starting to slow and get down to a number, I only have 105 up worldwide. But when these things stop, that means they're analyzing the data, they're pulling it all together, all right? Again, I think they're shaping a battlefield for containment purposes. So whatever happens, and they want to contain areas, this battlefield is going to allow them to do that. It is three-dimensional battlefield. Think of it that way, all right? Okay, let me continue on. Again, when they stop, that's when we all need to start paying attention, all right? Again, east of Dallas, south of DFW, up to the northwest towards Denton. Notice down here on the southern side of Los Angeles, San Francisco headed towards, that looks like it's following either roads or rivers. Up here in Canada, pay attention to that side too. North Dakota, north of Fargo, we got Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin, North Carolina, down to Florida. All right, then we get over here to Europe and to the eastern side of Poznan. Poznan's a U.S. military base. All right, notice that one up into Sweden, and then over here in Belgium, Netherlands, and then near Milan, Italy, and then Barcelona. And let me see, we go down to Australia. Again, a little bit of an uptick in Australia. It almost came to a screeching halt. Could have just been a pause. But you can see up near Darwin, all right, over in Perth, a little active, not super heavy, but this could be them going back and doing an area over again to get better data. And then we get over this side. There is a little trickle down there towards Tasmania, but just very, very light, some transitions. Again, I think what they're doing here is actually going back over areas, gathering better data, fine-tuning the information, stuff that their analysts couldn't probably pull together. Just my guess. All right, let's get to the Ruskies. Take a gander here. Notice down to Sochi, and then notice over into Turkey. We got a little bit of stuff going on there. Remember, they are very well aligned with them. And then we get up to the northern side, to the north of, well, that's northern Russia, and then down to the southern and southeastern side of Russia. So not super crazy busy, but busy enough. Okay. All right. Little water drone off of Hamburg, Germany. And then these, as always, very active. If you're in Turkey, you're being watched. You're probably not able to even see this video, but if you were, you're being watched. Just FYI. And then here, notice that. That's a Turkish one headed over to Dubai. What's up with that? I didn't know. Very interesting. Maybe a little third-party look-see. All right. Down to Australia. Don't have anything for you. All right. Let's go over here to the sub-hunters. Notice we got a transition coast to coast. And then just the regular stuff coming out of Jacksonville Naval Air Station. Looks to be touch and goes to regional airports. Okay, I'm going to get over here to Europe, a little more active, especially when we get down towards Constanta, near the Black Sea, right? See all that? Yeah, that's our little watch area. And then some moves down towards Malta and then over in Portugal, very light. And again, this is pretty light. I mean, this is the last 3 days. Let's bounce down to Australia, and I'm not seeing anything down under, all right? Okay, back to our mini board. Now, we are going to talk. I'm going to move this up just a tad on my screen because it's out of place. Let's get into some of the news and what we've got going on here. Now, you may have read about this or heard about it. You may remember last week we watched several R-135s headed out towards the Aleutians, okay? That is a new squadron of R-135s, but it looks like there was a China and Russian huge naval flotilla headed towards Alaska. And so we put up fighters, we put out all kinds of stuff, a couple battleships just to kind of meet them and greet them. But 11 ships in total between the Chinese and the Russians that were heading that way. Now, they have since left the area, but they set sail out there doing an exercise, okay? Starting to see more and more of that type of thing happen around the world. But again, up near the Aleutian Islands, okay? All right, let's talk about Bazooka Joe, old flashbang, see what he's up to. Looks like he is headed back to Joint Base Andrews, at which point he is going to come to the White House this morning. And then he's going to depart after he meets the 2022 World Series Houston Astros. And then he's headed outbound to the Grand Canyon Village in Arizona, where for the next 3 or so days, he's going to be out of pocket. All right. So we'll watch that. We're going to get into those TFRs here in just a minute, okay? All right, here is your debt tsunami. If you haven't seen this, I talked about it in the Monkey Minute over the weekend on Patreon. U.S. debt will rise by more than $5 billion every single day for the next 10 years. Let that sink in. Absolutely insane. I will tell you, there is nobody representing us. It is for the government, by the government, folks. If you haven't figured that one out, these folks, they have zero interest in us and what we have, what we want, what we have to say, should I say, not what we have. But this is pretty interesting. Let's see here. Let me get down into some of the details of this. But it's, in essence, a lot of money for the next 10 years just based on interest payments that are coming due. You may remember Fitch just reduced us to an AA plus rating, down from a AAA rating, first time since 2011. And this is part of it right here. All right. So again, very, very bad for us, our economy, for your money, for the value of the dollar, everything. All right. Now, speaking of Bidenomics and the great economy that we're in, Tyson Food misses sales estimates as demand slows, and they're now going to close 4 more chicken production facilities. Let that sink in, right? We've already watched a lot of our food sources being consumed by fires, but to add to that mix the fact that we have a fertilizer issue, diesel fuel issues, all kinds of different things happening. But add to it, just piling on to that cake, 4 more facilities that produce chicken. They're saying that the demand is because inflation. People are starting to not really be able to afford to buy the chicken and the meat. And chicken's usually pretty cheap. So if you see this happening, imagine what's happening with the steak and the meat side of the house, right? Although chicken is meat. I'm just saying the other meat. Okay. All right. Moving on down. Not good. Not good. Very big sign of our economy. All right. Now this one you must pay attention to. All right. The Democrats are demanding that 1,000% excise tax on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. So yeah, a $500 gun. They're saying the price of a $500 weapon to $5,000 in a bid to reduce access to guns across the country. Yeah, listen, when they start coming for your guns, you can better believe there's a reason for it, right? Take your speech, take your guns, and then take control of you. This is exactly what happened in Nazi Germany in the 1940s, okay? Okay, so that said, also I will point out the fact that Ruger is actually saying that for the first time in an election year cycle, they are not seeing any spikes in gun purchases, which is an interesting data point because that may be an indicator that people already have everything they need or feel that they need if things go hot, all right? Sign of the times. This one here will get you. Okay, Wuhan lab linked organization to receive more taxpayer funding in the form of grants. I'm not going to go into too much detail into this because it has a lot of buzzwords I'm not allowed to really say over on certain platforms. And so, but the fact that they are still continuing to grant funds to this particular organization tells you, that, like I said, in DC, they aren't there for us, folks. And the sooner we figure that out, maybe the sooner we'll get them out of there, right? Okay, let's talk about this NASA birds. This is the Airborne Science Program. You can go over to airbornescience.nasa.gov, and there's a daily tracker. I will tell you that they do like to wipe the flights, so that tells you that they are always up to something. You get the nice little flights like this where you go, what in the world are you guys doing? And it's, like I said, let me just get into some of the details and data, all right? If you watch, there's a little news tidbit for you. Low-flying NASA plane spraying something over major metro areas in Ontario, Canada. All right. Now, I tracked this flight. I'm going to show you that detail here in a minute. This was where it flew. Again, one of the reasons why I love Skyglass so much is because you don't just get a top-down view. You can actually kick it up to the side and look at the flight data and what it really did, okay? Altitude-wise, just a lot of different things. This right here, you know, they could have had a touch and go somewhere in here, and it would be very hard to see unless they were doing multiple routes from above. Very hard to tell, okay? There was one aircraft. This is the one in question. Now, you know what this doesn't show? Weather. And that becomes important, all right? And we're going to get into that. Here's another one of the flights. This is NASA 5, which is 90, I think it's N95 NA. Notice this, back and forth across this general area, all right? Again, maybe it's spraying, maybe not, but look at, here we go. This was the picture. Here's the aircraft. Look at this big puff of pink stuff in the sky, all right? Caught red-handed, all right? These are your NOAA birds. These are the guys that like to, like to wipe their stuff. So let's go take a look at this as we get into some of the NOAA flights. Now, I will point out that you're going to notice these flights back and forth. This one we're just looking at, all right? Notice they're at altitude, okay? I do believe they are actually spraying. Now, I'm going to show you the weather overlay here in a second. These are cloud seeding operations, in my opinion, okay? I know that sounds crazy to some of you in terms of conspiracy theorists, but I will tell you, weather modification is very real. These cloud seeding companies, the NOAA guys, they do this, all right? And they don't want you knowing they're doing it, and unless you're watching and paying attention, this is over the last couple of days here. But notice where the weather is right now. Northeast is getting flooded, lots and lots of activity going on up there. Now, these going out, I pray to God they are not doing the cloud seeding in hurricanes, but nothing would surprise me. But yeah, this, just notice you got some stuff going on over Florida, down out over the Atlantic and the Caribbean, okay? All right, let me go back to the mini, and then I'm going to show you one other thing here. If you look at this, this is Weather Modification LLC and SOAR, which is cloud seeding operations. Again, notice the area that they're in right here. It's the same area we just looked at that NOAA was doing their stuff in, okay? And then there's one little blip down here in Texas, probably trying to get a little rain out there for the farmers. I don't know, but again, pay attention to that. Let's get into some of the details around this. This is why this is important. Again, 2 days ago, this is the 95 NA. This is going to be that Gulfstream looking plane. I'll pop it up here on our screen. You can see this is what it looks like. All right. And then I'm going to back up. All right, so that we can go down and look. Here is that flight. Look at it over that area. Now, if I drop down a little bit, you can notice that is a level altitude constant, about 28,000 feet the entire time. Just notice what deviates are the airspeed, right? The yellow line is airspeed deviation. So whatever they were doing across that area, it was at a level set. Notice all around us, okay, storms. Don't be surprised if right in here that they didn't do a little cloud seeding as they popped across that general area. But we see this all the time where they'll come in and out of these thunderstorms and trying to generate things, okay? Now, that's that particular flight. Now, this is the one that we looked at closely a minute ago that was caught dumping pink stuff in the air, okay? Now, if we get into the details, I'm going to hit play on this so you can see it. And just notice that when it took off out of this general area, it was clear skies. When it came back, broken at 11,000 feet. But just notice this thing rolls right up. It gets into this general area, and it starts to do this circle thing around, okay? Dumping stuff, more than likely, right? Seeding, cloud seeding. Doesn't have to be clouds right there. It can pull this stuff right in, all right? So let me hit play. And then I'm going to actually speed it up just a little bit so you can see. Now notice, circle, circle, circle. All right. Again, at a level altitude, I'll back it up a little so you can see when it's doing that. Notice here, it starts at 24,000 feet, and then it goes into a nosedive. doing these circles into a nosedive, 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 and then it levels out. Low altitude, comes back up again. Same thing, little circle, and then it heads a little bit further north as it gets into the rest of its stuff. We'll watch it here for a second. Again, circle, nosedive stuff. All right, my guess is that it's starting to disperse this as it goes down all the way altitude-wise. Just keeps dropping down. You'll see it start to deviate. And remember, this is the airplane that I showed you that had the pictures of them at low altitude dumping something in the air like this big pink spray, okay? And some of these altitudes are low. You're talking 800 feet, 1,800, below 2,000. Look at this. It's at 2,100 feet as it starts to do another little turn, dropping stuff out. And then it will, let me pull it down just a little. Again, there it is doing that circle stuff again. You can see it does it in climbing, and then it does it as a drop, right? Look at that. Just spinning, 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 spinning. That started out at around 12,000 feet. Again, they'll come back up to about 12,000 feet. And then you can see, again, let me speed that up a little bit. See this thing, right? Just make note of the clouds in the area, all right? Cloud seeding, there you go. Just doing some dumps, cloud seeding, right? Now, we just hit pause on that. Let's go back over here for a second, and let me show you the weather up over that northeast side of the house. Again, this is where we're getting all the weather, the afternoon showers, the flooding, the recent weather that just popped in here into Vermont and that area. Yeah. All right. Now let's talk TFRs. Sorry to bounce back and forth on you. Flashbang headed out here today. Then he's going to go down here to New Mexico, and then he's headed up to Salt Lake City. All right. And that's between now and the 10th. So these, I think, are fireboxes. This is going to be Bob Marley, right? VP headed to this general area, which is normally going to be Flashbang's neck of the woods. All right, so it looks like everybody has vacated from the Senior Living Center Brown Zone as of right now. But again, keep your eye on this weather area up if you're in these general areas. Toronto, all the way over from Chicago, eastbound. Because did you notice a little shake there, a little wobble? Watch again as it goes in. Ready? There it is. Yeah. Let's get away from weather mod piece. Now, I had reports from somebody that I'm very close with that had 4 F-22s take off at high speed, afterburners fully engaged, went supersonic as they got out over the water at around midnight, Southern California time. This is the area that I would say keep an eye on. There's something going on out here. We watched the intelligence aircraft. We've watched the drones. We've seen a lot of stuff out over this general area, including reports of fighters going supersonic out to investigate something around midnight out in this general area, okay? This is typically a launch box when you get the big areas like this. So more than likely, somebody's about to launch something. Notice that it takes place out here off the water. So very likely that the Navy is going to shoot some stuff out this way towards Hawaii, actually. All right. We do have a massive tropical system down here right now, south of Hawaii. So for all my Ohana monkeys out there, you guys are about to get some pretty good surf on the south side of everything. This is hurricane tracker stuff right here. Danger boxes here. Again, this is the area we've been watching the Navy P-8s come out over the Gulf of Mexico, so it looks to have a sub somewhere in here. These are the flashbang boxes, right? Good old Bazooka Joe. And let's go a little north. Looks like we still have exercises in Iceland. As we get down to Ukraine and this general area, just pay attention. This is the spot that is very hot right now. We've had a lot of different stuff happening up here in Moldova. Bridges taken out down here in Ukraine, in Crimea, should I say. That's not Ukraine, it's Russia. And and a push right here by the Ukrainians trying to, I guess, take Crimea back, which is a suicide mission. All right. That's where we are. Again, another launch box up here towards the Arctic Ocean. That's going to be the Ruskies more than likely. And there you have it for the most part. All right. Let's move on. Next thing up in, which I find very interesting. Thousands of U.S. sailors, Marines reached the Red Sea after Iran tensions. Now, this is interesting because they're saying more than 3,000 U.S. military personnel have arrived in the Red Sea aboard 2 warships, right, as they increase deployments after tanker seizures by Iran. Now, why is that interesting? Well, because the Red Sea is on the other side of the area that has been taking shape. This is the Gulf of Oman. This is where all the Iranian tanker shenanigans have been taking place over here. This is the Red Sea, and this is where the 3,000 sailors that are supposed to be there for Iranian stuff have just arrived. So doesn't make a lot of sense. I would have thought they've been over here near Bahrain because that's where a major part of the fleet is located, and that would allow them to do some close support operations here. But here makes me wonder, what are they really doing? Because that is not necessarily a close distance from here to here in terms of support, all right? Probably has more to do with the stuff out here. All right, just pointing that out. Okay, if you haven't seen this one, this always is an interesting little data point. What will life be like on the UK's first migrant barge? Well, you may look at that and think, that looks a lot like a prison. Yeah, it does, because for the last 30 years, this has been a prison. And it's been a lot of things, including a prison, but it's been a hotel for people working in Scotland. It's been a lot of things, but it's been around for 30 years, okay? But it has basically brought a little bit of heat to the folks there that are, I guess, having eyes on this. Okay, they're saying that it's going to house 500 migrants, not workers, but 5,000 asylum seekers. So basically, floating on this barge that, let's see, it's basically being called a floating prison. It'll have 500 men packed into the ship, 222 cabins, prison cells, and they will suffer extreme trauma while they wait for asylum claims to be processed. So they could be out there for quite some time. If you're not familiar where this is located, it's over here, Isle of Portland, in the Portland port, which is the location that used to be a prison right there as well for many, many years back in 2006. Now, check this out. They mentioned this prison right here that is a floating prison called the HMP Weir. And it was used by the government to temporarily ease prison overcrowding. Now, one might ask, where is this bad dude located now? All right. Now, keep in mind, this is different than the barge, right? This is a different prison barge, but here is the other one. Make you kind of wonder, doesn't it? This is the current location of the prison barge off of this particular area. This, yeah, check that out. So we'll pull it up. It's basically sitting. It's not floating. It's not doing anything. They're calling it accommodation vessel, which is, yeah, accommodation barge. Yeah, it's a prison. But it's off the Gulf of Guinea. That's a pretty far ways out in the water. So, but here, notice you got Nigeria here, Ghana, Cameroon. Yeah, I got a lot of African nations right here. This is kind of the area that has a lot of Ebola too. But yeah, there you go. Just want to point that one out for you, all right? Okie doke. Let's get over here to Biggs Army Airfield and see what we've got. Delta Airlines coming in. That's a deadhead flight out of Hartsfield Jackson Airport. That's ATL, Atlanta. National Cargo coming out of Langley Air Force Base. All right, Airbus. And then this one coming in from Saginaw, Michigan, Eastern Airlines. Looks like this one is headed to Anchorage, Alaska. So I think they're taking some immigrants from here and moving them around. That's the way it looks. Anytime you see Delta and this guy coming inbound, yeah, that's usually what we've got going on from that standpoint. So it looks like the migrant location has filled up, and they are now basically dispatching folks to various points within the country to other migrant camps. All right. All right. And then here, again, this one looks to be headed up to Anchorage, Alaska. That's what we just talked about, coming out of Langley Air Force Base. And then the Delta Airlines is headed to Hunter Army Airfield, Savannah. Remember, that was also a migrant location camp that we identified and posted back in the day. All right. Over to Dover. Got a couple 747s coming in. This one's from Oscoda, Michigan. That's Coletta. That's their home base operations. Probably coming out of maintenance and being entered into the cycle right here. And then that one coming from Chicago O'Hare. That's an Atlas Air. From there, Ramstein and RZE Poland. That's where those two aircraft are going. 747s. That's, again, big boys. More than likely carrying stuff that goes boom. All right, or the equipment that makes stuff go boom. Okay, here's a camber flight coming out of Ohio, MD-11. That's probably troops. And then this one coming out of Dover to Ramstein. My bad. Arriving in Ramstein. So that's the one we just looked at coming out of Dover. And then this one, Western Global MD-11, destination unknown, and then Coletta, destination unknown. And then these two are still on the thing, coming in from Ohio and D.C. So this is probably troops right here. All right, forward operating base, RZE Poland. Lots of stuff coming in. Anchorage, Alaska, camber flight. That's probably Western Global originally. That's bringing in artillery, more than likely, because they are using a lot of it, as we've mentioned in the past. Another one's from Anchorage, this one from Dover, heading down, JFK inbound, and Anchorage, Alaska. Who is this? Challenge Airlines. Okay, so the fact that that's coming out of JFK tells me that Challenge is one we need to probably add to our quiver to watch and see. That's out of Belgium. So JFK to forward operating base RZE. So we'll start to watch these guys and see if maybe they are throwing their hat in as well for a little bit of that business. All right, Atlas Air, destination unknown. Another Atlas unknown. Boy, these guys are flying to places they don't want you seeing. All right, all 747s. All right, the only camber flight we have up looks to be coming out of Burgas, Sarajevo. All right, Burgas International headed to Kuwait. So it's coming out of down here just south. Remember, Constanta is a little bit north, I think, right up here. So that's headed down to Kuwait from there. So that's probably troops. And then Alaska to LAX, again, Western Global, and then Ramstein to destination unknown. Just notice that it's headed eastbound, all right? And it's on the climb out, 604 miles an hour. Scooting. Okay, nothing up for NATO. Over to Omni. Yeah, looks like a Hawaiian flight back to the States. And that's headed to Fort Worth Alliance. And then this one's coming out of Alliance, headed to, looks to be Seoul, South Korea. And again, moving the Canadians from back and forth. So it looks like the Canadians have actually been stacking up here and then probably being processed into forward operating bases in Europe. Okay. That's the way it looks. So it looks like Canada is actually getting some skin in the game. All right. The Brits, again, notice this one's coming out of Canada. And landed in Iceland and then on to Canada, back and forth. Let's see. That one's descending back home base there in the UK. And then several look to be headed down southbound. That's at, all right, so that looks like it's going to be landing in maybe Cyprus. Maybe. Where is, yeah, maybe. We're taking off out of Cyprus. It actually looks like it's taking off because that is getting airborne, but it's descending, so it's not climbing out yet. All right. Or actually, that is ascending. That's going up. My bad. And this one's level 29,000 feet. Looks to be coming out of Europe there. All right. Over to the immigrant machine. Let's see what we've got here on the docket. Several headed southbound, one coming out of the Caribbean, and then a couple look to be headed to the interior out to Denver. So that one's interesting. Alexandria up to Denver, Colorado. Maybe maximum, maybe they're pushing some folks into a max pin up here, or maybe they're going to Amazon, one and the same. Yeah, I don't know. All right. Well, listen, that is going to do it for our SITREP today. We'll continue to watch the stuff going on in the Ukraine. As always, there's a lot of moving parts right now happening with the offensive. A lot of bad data that's being pushed out, just basically misinformation. So I chose not to push that in today because, like I said, I think it's just, what they always try to do, right? They try to just take our eyes off of a scenario elsewhere. It looks like the whole China-Russian ship thing out here has dissipated. That's not a threat. Watch the southern side of California. That seems to be a threat. The reports of Wagner Group's folks in Mexico, they are there for a reason. And it's probably up here. Okay. And then, of course, we'll continue to watch everything else that's happening in the Middle East with Syria and the fact that we parked 3,000 more troops in the Red Sea area, I think is another one we need to start paying attention to. All right, that's going to do it. You guys keep that powder dry, stay frosty. We'll talk soon. God bless. Monkey out. Thanks for watching, folks. Check out the latest gear and products over at monkeywerxus.com.